Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, before I start this video, I want to thank everyone who helps this show. I want to help all the subscribers. I want to help the people who share my videos, who like my videos. I want to thank the people who give through Patreon and Super Cash. If you help in any way, thank you very much. I have plenty of people who send me videos and ads and everything else. You guys help make the show. When I do my live shows, if there's no one there to do a live show, there's nobody watching, there's no point in doing a live show. So in a real way, you guys help make the show what it is. Thank you very much. We've hit 11,400. Yeah, I'm still mind blown by that, but thank you very much. In my, I guess my current series of Whistling Past the Graveyard, something big is taking place in The Hague that we are not necessarily hearing about in local news or in our media in the United States. There's a Russian disposition. Meaning in the same way that the West has a disposition that, oh, this was a chemical attack, Assad is just a brutal, evil dictator, he's a bad guy. And because he's just a bad guy, he will do things that are against geopolitical rationalities. Meaning he would gas his own people, even though he knows that gassing his people is the one main thing that will bring other countries into this conflict. They say, don't pay attention to that fact. Don't pay attention to the logical jumps in this. He's just a bad guy. Focus on him being a bad guy. And you mentioning anything else about Saudi Arabia and Israel murdering civilians, that's whataboutism. There's a Russian disposition. Whatever you want to think about that, wherever you come down that argument, Democrat, Republican, somewhere in between, there is a Russian disposition. There is a disposition that the Russian government has taken in the same way there's a disposition that Western governments are taking. In the same way that Western governments are saying, this is a chemical strike. We don't have any evidence of this as being a chemical strike, but this is a chemical strike nonetheless. Trust us. Russia is saying this never took place, that this is a false flag. We said a false flag was going to take place, and what do you know? We have this false flag. Donald Trump says he's leaving, and all of a sudden there's a chemical strike. All of a sudden there's a chemical strike. I would say that whether or not you think the Russian disposition has legs is kind of besides the point. It is the logic that they're going with, meaning if the United States strikes them again, they have created a red line in the sand saying they're not going to allow this to take place again. Two videos to show for this. The first one is some of the kids who were in the previous video, some of the people who were in the previous video, showing that this was a chemical strike, the stuff put out by the white helmets and stuff like that. Russia got those exact people who were in the video to come out saying this was not a chemical strike. Let's take a look at it. This could be propaganda or this could be the truth. Who knows which it is. This is RT.
We were in the basement and we heard people shouting that we needed to go to the hospital. So when we were in the hospital, we went there through the tunnels. At the hospital, they started pouring water on me, cold water. Thank you.
Now, the kid was obviously given a statement, or at the very least it looks like he was given a statement. He looked up at somebody. Apparently somebody might have said, that's it. And he cut it off. Now, you could say that kid was being truthful, or you can say that kid was being prodded. I don't know. What I do know is you can't necessarily purely take the position of the West as being the flat fact truth of the matter, in the same way that it's difficult to take this kid as being the flat fact truth of the matter. What is true about this is that Russia has taken a disposition, along with, I would imagine, China, Iran, and Saudi, Syria, the governments that have allowed with Russia on this, that this is a false flag. This is bogus. And they've also taken the disposition that if there's any new attack on this, they will respond. Russia won't allow another U.S. military action in Syria based on false flag OPCW envoy. 1, this is a false flag. 2, we're not going to allow any additional attacks on Syria based on false flags. That's a red line. That's a red line without saying explicitly red line. Russia's envoy to the OPCW said it was crucial to avoid new false flag attacks in Syria and that Moscow won't allow the United States military action there, as he described details of Russian findings on the site of alleged Duma incident. News false flag operation against Damascus are possible since our American partners are once again threatening to take military action against Syria, but we will not allow that. Russia's permanent representative to the Organization of Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, Alexander Slogin, said during a press conference in The Hague on Thursday. The meeting was called by Russia's OPCW mission and featured witnesses of the April 7th alleged chemical incident in the city of Duma. It highlighted the findings of the Russian military experts who were among the first to reach the site of the purported attack to locate the munitions that supposedly hit the residential buildings. Russian experts performed detailed analysis of the information on the ground. Major General Igor Kirillov, the head of the Russians' Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Protection Group, said 2 gas canisters allegedly dropped by the government forces from helicopters were found in 2 apartments. The cylinders and the damage they purportedly caused did not fit the tail of the airstrike entirely, Kirillov said. One of the cylinders lacked any makeshift upgrades such as fins to make it usable as an aerial munitions, and surprisingly, it was not even deformed. An empty gas canister found on the top floor. The apartment was partially destroyed earlier by the aerial bombing explosion. Parts of the roof and outer wall were missing, Kirillov said. Other walls were sprayed with shrapnel. It's quite peculiar that the cylinder was not deformed, which doesn't fit its purported fall from a big altitude on the concrete floor. They're trying to, long story short, the narrative that they're using doesn't necessarily fit what's taking place. At least this is the Russian perspective of things. I say the Russian perspective of things because who knows what's true? Who knows what's true? All I know is the Western story doesn't make sense. That's what I know, which makes me somewhat distrustful of what the West is saying on this. What I do know is that the West wants to attack Syria and that they're looking for pretexts to do it. I know that was true during Obama's time, and it seems to be true during Trump's time. For all these people who hug Trump on this idea of being this kind of pacifist flower, look at the people he surrounded himself with. And yes, Donald Trump did those airstrikes. Whatever you want to say about people are pushing him to do it, he still signed on the dotted line to do those airstrikes. What I'm getting at is the Russian disposition of this is bogus. That this is bogus. We're whistling past a graveyard. We're in that country. We shouldn't be in that country. We're in that country illegally. And we're doing airstrikes in that country illegally. This is a war of aggression by the United States. The partner who Syria is aligned with, the nuclear-powered partner, has just put down a red line warning that if you attack Syria again, based on what we consider to be a false flag, we will respond. I'm not going to keep this video long because I want the gravity of this video to sink in. This is talking about World War III. This is Russia saying, we will not permit this again. I understand what you think the United States is spending $1 trillion in military. But how do you know that that $1 trillion equals to real world material? What I mean by that is, in the same way we spend 4 times as much for our healthcare, we don't get our bang for our buck in the regards of healthcare, even though we spend that much money. We have a capitalistic system. These people are putting money in their pockets. Just spending money is not evidence that you're getting something for the money that you're spending in this process. We spend ridiculous amounts of money on the military, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what you're getting is going to be a win, especially if you're going against a nuclear powered nation. Even if you technically win that war, is it really a win if you've destroyed the world to do it? We're behaving illegally by our own laws and by international laws. And fact is, we've lost all legitimacy and all moral high ground in this argument. I understand that Assad is a bad guy. I get it. That has nothing to do with whether or not we need to intervene and destroy that country. And fact is, our previous interventions have not led to roses and rainbows. They've led to chaos and destruction. We've gone from one horror to the next without ever really engaging the fact that we've committed a horror in the previous countries, to be specific to Libya and the 1 million people that we killed in Iraq. Who's going to take over if the United States, France, and the UK decides as a world unto their own to get rid of Assad? Fuck world law. Fuck world order. Fuck international law. Fuck our own laws. He's a bad guy. And being a bad guy is justification enough to take him out of his seat. That is grossly illegal. We're in that country grossly illegally. That country is not on the border of North Carolina or anywhere else in the United States. They have not declared war on the United States. Any airstrikes that we do in that country is illegal. And being in that country in and of itself is illegal. I have no doubts about it. Our behavior in that region of the world has created chaos. That's what we've done, created chaos. And right now, Russia is saying no more. Whatever you want to think of Russia mingling in the election, whatever you want to think of the Russian thing for Skripal, all of this stuff sounds hokey and somewhat bogus to me, but at the very least, and even this Russian kid, I have no idea if this kid is telling the truth. This kid could be prompted to do this. It's kind of besides the point. The truth, flat fact of it is, they've given a red line statement. We will either cross it or we don't. If we cross it, we will at the very least see whether or not Russia is serious about protecting Syria. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Your country is doing something grossly illegal, and there may be massive consequences for the behavior that country is taking. Syria is a tinderbox. You have Qatar, Saudi Arabia, you have the United States, UK, France, you have Turkey, Russia, Iran, all involved in that one country. And the same way you had the countries in the past for World War I that ended up being a tinderbox, Syria can be a tinderbox for something much worse. Be aware of what your government is doing. I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks everyone.